Welcome. You're listening to the I'm Wired to Inspire podcast, creatively engineered by Nicole, the inspiration specialist. I'm Wired to Inspire is a powerfully packed podcast filled with inspiration and encouragement to get you through your day. It's designed to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. Now, stay tuned for your host, Nicole, the inspiration specialist, on today's episode of I'm Wired to Inspire.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast. As promised, I told you guys a couple days ago I was going to tell you what happened when I was robbed last week. I'm still not going to give a whole bunch of details, but the part that I want to touch on, it inspired the title of today's episode, which is Everything Right. So basically, I went to the store and some crazy dude stole my purse and, whatever. Like I said, I genuinely don't want to talk about it in detail, but thank God I was safe. I filed a police report and all of this other stuff, and a couple of notable things happened, right? So I'm learning as I get older that a lot of times when God will lead us to do something or say something or just be a certain place, whatever it is he may lead us to do, sometimes when we complete that action or we do whatever the job is he tells us to do, whatever it may be, the end result may be something that you feel is to your disadvantage. One of the things we have to remember is that just because God tells us to do something, it does not mean it's going to be the outcome that you think it should be. That's just not how it works. And I may have mentioned this the other day. I can't remember. But yeah, just because God tells you to do something and you're like, well, man, I know once I do this, everything is going to be great. And to be quite honest, it might be the opposite, of what you thought. That happened to me a couple times in 18. God led me to do some things. And when the situations blew up in my face, at the time, I was like, oh my God, I played myself. Why did you make me do that? This could not have been you. And he's like, why would it be me? And what he showed me in one particular situation was, I had to show you this particular individual does not care about you. They only care about themselves and what they can get from you. Had I not done what God led me to do though, y'all, I would have never known that. I would have still been thinking that the relationship was one way and it was completely different. God was trying to show me what was beneath the layers. Had I not followed his instruction and do what he told me to do, I literally would have been so stupid and had no idea. And I think sometimes we got to humble ourselves and we have to be able to admit that stuff and be able to say, okay, Lord, here I am. I'm sorry. Show me what I need to do so that I can be in your perfect will. So for those of you who are listening and you feel like God told you to do something and now you real upset because you feel like it blew up in your face, that does not mean that it's not God. It does not mean because it didn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out because God, quote unquote, told you. That does not mean that is not God. That's why the enemy trips us up, because the Lord will give us these very specific instructions. And when it doesn't work out the way we want, oh, that wasn't God. I missed God. No, you did not miss God. God will allow things. Y'all know in the book of Job, he allowed the enemy to torment Job. He allowed that. Why did he allow it? Because Job had to come to the end of himself. Job had to learn things about himself that he otherwise would not have learned had that not happened. So I want you to just, whoever, I just feel like somebody needs to hear that. You just recently something happened. And you're like, oh my God, God told me to do that. And then, you even told a couple of people. So now they're looking at you crazy too. Sidebar, keep your mouth shut. Because when these things happen, even though it is God and it's the opposite reaction, you won't have all those opinions talking all over whatever it is you did. So that's just a little bonus right there. So let me get back to the topic. Everything right. So, of course, when, people found out, not very many people know, I ended up posting on my IG story, on a slick, hey, y'all, not going to be on the, on the podcast this week. So, I had a couple people, very nice. And thank you all. If you're listening and you hit me up in my inbox and, told me you were praying for me and, you just wish me well and hope I got all my stuff back. I thank you very much for that. So what people do when they don't mean it, I know they don't mean any harm, because I'm sure I've done this before too to people. But when you tell somebody something like that happens, the first thing they tell you is what you should have did. Does that not get on your nerves like it gets on mine? I'll be like, come on, son. Like, really? Like, this is what you're going to tell me now? And again, not meaning any harm, but it's, you should have did this. You need to watch that. You need to move. Okay, so no. How about you need to leave me alone? Because I'm trying to keep my little Christian, swag and do what the Lord wants me to do. But you're really trying my patience. And I had to really pull back. And that's when God gave me this epiphany. And he's like, you know what, Robin? Even when you do everything right, my will still has to be done. Now that's deep. So basically, it didn't matter what I did, what everybody said I should have did. I knew, I checked my surroundings. I knew I held my stuff like I always do. I knew where it was positioned. I knew where I messed up. I know where I didn't mess up. But I know I did everything right as much as I could for the situation that I was in. So that's why today's topic is everything right. Some of you listening, you can do everything right and it still might not go the way you think it's going to go. You are listening to this message right now just as a quick reminder. Just because you did everything right, it does not mean things will go wrong or feel like they've gone wrong. But here is the good news. The fact that happened to me, y'all, it's mind-blowing what happened after. And so you have to stick around for Friday's episode, because tomorrow, I told you I'm talking about the Saints getting robbed, and I'm talking about, what happened to me the other day. So today is mine, and tomorrow I'm talking about the Saints. But and you can like any football team, y'all. It's my who that's, but of course it's a general message, so it's for anybody. I don't want you to feel like I don't want to listen to it because I don't like the Saints. It's not even that deep. I'm just, using a metaphor, and you'll understand when you hear it tomorrow. But anyway, yes, you could have done everything right, okay? And you are wondering why. Understand this. Once I saw the chain of events that happened after that happened, and as a result of that happening, I was blown away. A couple of things happened. I found out a couple people really cared about me that I didn't think cared about me at all, if I'm gonna be honest. And I hate when that sounds, I'm not trying to sound cold. Y'all know I'm not with the victim thing. I'm not a feeling of being a victim and acting like a victim, but I am paying attention. So for me, I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't think they cared. And that was more than one person. So I say that to say to you, so many other things happened. Okay. So many other things happened as a result of a negative thing that God allowed to happen to me. And even though I quote unquote did everything right, God's will still needed to be done so that he can get the glory. So again, when you listen on Friday, you will hear how he got the glory. So God bless you guys. I want you to keep those two things in mind that we talked about today. Please don't forget this moving forward. Please don't forget it. Just because God tells you to do something, it does not mean you may end up in a situation or on the negative end, or what appears to be the negative end, the downside. You're like, man, I prayed, I fasted, I did everything, and they still didn't hire me. You're still in the will of God. Stop questioning things. Stop pouting. Stop getting immature. Stop acting like a baby. Note to self. Stop acting like a little baby when it don't go your way. You studied and you failed. So now it's not the will of God. No, study again until you pass. If God told you to do it, keep doing it until you get it. There is nothing in the Bible where God said, hey, you do it one time and you Gucci. There's nothing in the Bible that say that. It just says you have to just go through and he'll be with you every step of the way. Everything requires something. I heard this message multiple times. I actually just heard it again earlier tonight, and I just mentioned it to someone the other day. Yo, God blesses you while you're working. You got to be doing something. So sometimes that process of doing something for him to even use you is because you're already busy. You're not just slumped around like, oh God, woe is me. Yeah, he might have told you to do something and the outcome is not what you thought, but that's still not time for woe is me. You don't have time for that. So just remember, even if woe is me happens and you feel like you're inside of the will of God, more than likely, double check, of course, but you're probably still inside of the will of God, even though it did not happen the way you thought it should have happened, because that's how awesome God is. There's so many things that happen as a result, and you'll find out what the power of prayer does and what happens when you really put your focus on God and when you really trust him, and when you see that sometimes, even though you've done everything right and everything appears to be wrong, God is orchestrating the entire thing. I'm wired to inspire. I hope you are too.
Thanks for listening to I'm Wired to Inspire podcast at I'mWiredToInspire.com. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word and be sure to hit the 5-star rating on iTunes. For more information on this podcast and inspirational products and services, log on to I'mWiredToInspire.com. And remember to live your authentic purpose. Thanks again, and see you next time.